So today we'll be learning about the Industrial Employment Standing Orders Act of 1946. So this particular act is very important. For example, if you have a subject called as labor law, it is one of the most important act for you to learn it, as well as normally whenever you go into practice area, especially if you have an interest to practice in the field of labor law ka region, these acts are very important, and once you try to understand the important provisions, sections, and case laws regarding it, it'll be very easy for you to navigate throughout the entire journey of the labor law understanding itself. So if you observe, this is the entire barrack text. You'll be finding it over here. It's in the government ka portal itself, central government portal. Just type the barrack for this particular aspect of industrial employment standing orders 1946. You'll get the complete barrack for it. Now, keeping that barrack in your hand, I'm going to tell you few important key points, few important aspects which you need to keep in your mind for your exam point centric view of you. Now, starting with, let's understand about what do you understand by the concept called as Industrial Employment Standing Order Act of 1946. So now, if you observe, over the years period of time, this is during the Industrial Revolution. Okay, so Industrial Revolution happened when there is new kind of industries, new kind of development happened. There were many problems faced by the people as common, right? So what were the problems faced by the people? They were being exploitation of the working class, long working hours, not providing proper amount of remuneration, no providing any kind of safety mechanism, no insurance for the people. They were basically human torture was basically given to them in a very high extensive manner. Now, as part of it, over the years, government have drafted different kind of rules, regulation, as well as acts have been passed in the parliament for preventing or for curbing for such kind of activities. So, as part of it, now we are learning about Industrial Employment Standing Orders Act of 1946. So what this particular act is about, what are the important case laws for it, whom this particular act is applicable towards it, what are the important sections, what are the important alterations for it, all that we'll be covering up over here. Now, keeping that in the mind, let's start with our class for today. Now, if you observe, equal pay for equal work, this is one of the most important principle of the Industrial Employment Standing Orders Act of 1946. That means that you work, depending on your work scale, that payment should be done. Point number two, once a standing order is made, it cannot be altered. See, once you make a standing order, it cannot be altered. I'll tell you what is standing order, everything in the coming up pages, but for the time being, understand that once a standing order is made, you cannot alter it over and over again. You can alter it only within the first 6 months period. Is there no one? As soon as I make a standing order, once it is basically been accepted by the appellate authority, once they've been confirmed everything, then within that 6 months I can change it. But later I cannot over and over, I cannot change it here and there, because I have to require the consent of both employer as well as the employee's permission is required. Now, third point is terms on conditions of the employment and rules expected to follow. So all the terms and conditions of the employment, everything will be covered over here. Okay, all the terms and conditions, what should be the terms and conditions, how these terms and conditions should be followed by the employer employee, all that will be covered. And fourth important aspect is, before employees were not allowed to know about the terms and conditions, but after this particular act came, every employee is basically entitled to know about what their entire terms and conditions, their working hours, their remuneration, their salary mechanism, everything they are compelled to know. Now, this is the important aspect of this, our standing order. Now, let's understand that when does this standing order comes into an existence or when it is applied. See, for example, in an organization, when there is more than 100 or 100 plus people, okay, when there is 100 plus people, then this particular standing order needs to be passed, needs to be made. Okay, this is applicable when there is 100 or more than 100 employees are there employed, or within the 12 months period, once we have 100 or this one, within that 12 months period they have to keep a standing order ready. Okay, so in the famous case, so in this very important act, we'll be learning just one case, because there are no much very big cases and all for this. Only few cases are very rarely there as a law student, you just need to know for it. The first one is ML Kanta Rao versus the Asanjali Mills case. So what happened in ML Kanta Rao versus Asanjali Mills case? The terms of SO means what? The terms of SO is called as standing order shall be applicable at all times. So throughout the existence of the firm, what is mentioned in this standing order will always be applicable. Okay, throughout the existence of the firm, it shall be applicable. That was said in which case? ML Kantarao versus Asanjali Mills case. Now, For which are the criteria in which standing orders will not be applicable? So what is there in the standing order? I already said you. It could be about in terms of wages, shift, attendance, conditions, terms and conditions, suspensions, termination. Everything will be included in the standing order. Just understand this for the time being. I'll be explaining it over and over again. Let's have some kind of patience. So who it is not applicable? Civil servants, this rule is not applicable because they are being governed by their own rules and regulations. This defense, you have seen this military, air force and all, no, navy and all, for them this particular standing order does not apply. And Indian Railway established code, this particular law is not particularly applied. So these are the important components you need to keep in your mind. ML Kantarao versus Asanjali Mills case, then these are the exceptions. Civil servants, defense service rules, and the Indian Railway established rules, and this particular does not apply. So these are the important contentions you need to keep in the mind. Now, keeping into our understanding about what are the special features of this particular act. Now, first one is that it's certified by an appellate authority. So as soon as we make a standing order, it is basically made by whom? It is made by the employer or the employees. Okay. So once the standing order is basically made by the employer, it should basically take the consent even from all the employees as well as the trade union. Once it is done, it will go to the appropriate authority. They will check it. Okay. And the special feature is that here they have defined the entire aspect about the workman in a very beautiful manner. They have defined it. Now, certifying authority can modify or add to the standing order. So in that particular standing order, the certifying officer will approve it. No, he can add any amendments or he can make any kind of changes, provided in which you have to inform the employer and employees for it. Okay. The standing order, SO means what? Standing order can be submitted in a group. So it can be submitted in a group. That is very important. These are the important features. 4 important features we discussed now. It should be basically being approved by an appropriate authority. Definition of the workman is basically being covered over here. Certifying authority can modify it or they can add on new clauses for this particular thing, provided in which who should they inform? They should inform the employer, employees, and trade unions. Now, what are the components for a standing order? What is there inside the standing order? Okay, guys. So what is there inside the standing order? They discuss about, mentioned about the wages, shifts, attendance, conditions. What are the conditions which workers will be getting? Means of redressal. What are the means they'll be getting of redressal? If there is a suspension and if there is a termination, what is the procedure for it? What is the formality for it? How much amount they're going to pay? Everything. Literally, as soon as you enter into a company, they'll give you the terms and conditions that everything is completed in this particular components of an SO. Now, if you observe what is important aspect, where is that? Section 13. Okay, section 13, if you observe, they have mentioned about submission of the draft. So within 6 months of the act, the model prescribed by the concerned authority should be done. Okay, so within 6 months of the act, by the model prescribed by the concerned authority, they have to proceed with it. 6 months, they have to make sure that there is all kind of approval process, everything needs to be done. But all the important sections start with section 3. Okay, so what is section 3 speaking about? Employer to submit the draft standing order within the 6 months of the commencement of the order. So just keep in your mind about section 13. I'll be explaining later because it is connected to the penal provisions. But for the time being, remember, in section 3, what is very important here? The employer, I am the owner, I have to submit within 6 months before the commencement of this particular act. I need to submit it. Okay, to whom? To the standing officer, or the appellate authority. I have to submit it. Okay, so employer to submit draft standing order within 6 months of the commencement of the draft. Section 34 3 subclause 4 states that by group also I can go and submit it. So if I am the employer, within 6 months I should submit the standing order to whom? To the appellate authority. Now, what is section 4 speaking about? Section 4 speaks about, so shall be the certified. There are redressal and fair provisions of the act. So the section 4 speaks about the standing order shall be certified. They are redressal and fair. So when a certifying officer, when he is agreeing my particular standing order, no, he should be very reasonable and it should be fair. He should see whether all the provisions of the act are following all the guidelines of the Industrial Employment Standing Orders Act of 1946. They have to cross check whether it is following all the aspects about Industrial Employment Standing Orders Act. It's covering up all sections over there. Now there are 3 important questions which can come to us. Is there any possible to modify the standing order? Yes. First, you remember that cannot be modified without the consent of the employer, employees, or the trade union. So if you want to modify it, you have to take 3 people's permission: employer, employees, and then who? Trade unions. Once these 3 permissions done, changes within 6 months from the date of entry of the operation is compulsory. Within 6 months of the entry of the operation, changes needs to be done. Now, what are the penalties and provisions or procedures for not making a standing order and all? Then the employer fails to submit a standing order, he have to pay how much? Rupees 5k. Okay. If that pending and plus, each day he'll be charged a fees of rupees 200 until he is not submitting it. So 5000 is the fine, 5000 is the fine, but 200 is a daily fine until he is not submitting it. So it comes into section 13. And then about filing appeals under a standing order. So it means in case if there is any kind of appeal, you want to do a particular appeal under this one, okay, filing appeal under standing order, it comes under section 6. Any party agreed by by the order of the certified officer may appeal to the appropriate authority by 30 days. So if I'm not happy with the aspects laid down by the certified officer, I can go to the appellate authority and I can ask for an appeal, and within 30 days they will do some kind of amendments or not. Sometimes they will do the amendments, sometimes they will not do the amendments in that standing order. If they do the amendment within 7 days, they will make the copy ready and then they will submit it to you. So these are the important components, guys, which we learned under the Industrial Employment Standing Act or Standing Orders Act of 1946. That's all. Hope you liked it. Wish you all the best. And if you do like this video, please do like, share, and subscribe. And in case if you have any kind of doubts, queries, or something, be free to ask in the comments. I'll be very happy to address it. So entire provisions of this act itself says that it's basically like a terms and condition that needs to be uplifted for protecting the welfare of the citizens as well as the laborers. So that's all. Take care and goodbye.